Caught in the storm, the love is the shelter, keeps our hearts warm. Through every silence, every sharp fight, there's a light, oh a light, calling us right.
Welcome to S.O.A.R, Leadership for Kingdom Women, the podcast where faith meets leadership. Here we equip, inspire, and empower women to strengthen, overcome, align, and rise in their God-given calling, whether in business, in church, or in life. This is your time to rise higher. Let's soar together. Here's your host, Dr. Sharon Arrindell.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to S.O.A.R, Leadership for Kingdom Women. I am your host, Dr. Sharon, and I'm thrilled to welcome you back for our second episode designed to help Kingdom women strengthen, overcome, align, and rise in business and ministry or in life. Today's guest is very special to me. You know, not that all my guests are not, but today's guest is a powerhouse of confidence, purpose, and impact. Tara LaFon Gooch. Tara is a multi-best-selling author, global keynote speaker, TEDx coach, CEO of Best Branding Solutions, where she helps top thought leaders amplify their visibility and build legacy-driven brands. She's also the creator of Transformative Grasp Method, which stands for Gratitude, Responsibility, Action, Sight, and Purpose. Through this powerful framework, she empowers high-achieving leaders to rise with confidence, lead with authenticity, and live out their God-given calling. But what makes Tara's story so remarkable is how she was able to herself turn her own journey of burnout and fear into a very beautiful life of purpose and spiritual alignment. You'll hear how God transformed her pain into purpose and positioned her to impact leaders around the world through faith-driven confidence. And I want you to just grab a journal because you'll probably need to take notes on this one. So grab your journal, open your heart, and get ready for a conversation that will awaken your own boldness and ignite your leadership calling. So I want to introduce her. She's also written chapter 12 in our new anthology, From Cocoon to Soar. So let's welcome my special guest, Tara LaFon Gooch. Hi there.
Hey, thanks for having me today, Sharon.
You're welcome. I mean, it's my pleasure to have you just because of who you are, just because of who you are as a woman, who you are as a person, who I have met not very long ago, but gotten the opportunity to just delve into all the things that you're doing and how you're inspiring people all over the world. So today we're going to be interviewing the interviewer. And it is my honor to do that. And so we're just going to jump in. And the first question, I call it From Burnout to Breakthrough. I believe that's what you call it. It's in the book as well. Tara, your story in the anthology, it really resonates. It can resonate with a lot of people. From Cocoon to Soar, chapter 12, Empowered by Purpose, is such a powerful example of transformation. You went from corporate burnout and fear of public speaking to becoming a confident global speaker and mentor. What was the defining moment that shifted you from performing for success to leading with purpose?
Wow, I love that. There's so much to unpack there, right? And I just want to start off by saying and honoring a lot of people who are going through this journey at this time, because I talk to people all the time and they're wondering, what is my purpose? Maybe they're lacking fulfillment in their lives. Maybe they're in a corporate job and they don't feel like they're whole, or that something's missing, or that they're made for something bigger, but they don't know what that is. So first, I want to honor people that are in that journey and path right now. And I just want to say that, at the time I was, like many, scared. I didn't know what my next move looked like. I didn't know what my next steps were. And when I was in corporate, I was feeling anxiety. I was feeling depression. I was feeling a sense of hopelessness, uncertainty, right? And my body started to show signs of anxiety, depression. And I would get rashes on my arms. Just when I was talking about work, I felt like there was a weight on my chest. And I actually thought that there was something wrong with me physically, right? I was only in my 30s, but I felt this weight on my chest. I thought there must be something wrong with my lungs, because when I breathed, it felt like I couldn't get enough air. And I was constantly like taking big breaths in because I felt like I could not get enough air. It was insatiable. So these are some symptoms of anxiety, and maybe you're having some symptoms if you're listening to this right now, and maybe you're not sure exactly what it is. That's what it was for me. So I was feeling all of these things and kind of going through a roller coaster of emotions. At the time, I was a corporate sales director. I had risen high in my company and in my industry. And I was traveling constantly on the road, visiting clients in multiple states. I was hardly ever at home. And it dawned on me that I just could not do this anymore. Now, at the time, I was the main breadwinner in my family. I had a company car. I had a nice salary. I had equity in the company. I had health insurance. I mean, just you name, right? All of the things. And I gave it all up. And I didn't look back. And I didn't have a plan B. I did not have even a 5-year plan, right? I'm not advocating for this per se.
No.
Right? But I do think it was part of that journey. And, there's a book out there called, it's Burn the Boats, right? And it's an interesting concept when you just burn the boats and you just go for the thing and you don't necessarily have a plan B. And that's what I did. And I had never, necessarily done that before. I was used to the corporate structure. I was used to the paycheck. I was used to the different things. And then I did something completely different, the 180 of that. And through that journey, because purpose is a journey, right? It's not necessarily how I think we think of it, like in the movies or even on posts on social media. Purpose is an ever-evolving journey of unraveling and coming to the core center of who we are, our true calling, and why God made us. And this is sometimes forged in adversity and struggle and obstacles and trials, right? But I wouldn't take it back and I wouldn't change anything about it. It made me who I am today and brought me to you.
Yeah. And I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for your journey. I'm grateful because it's a similar journey as mine. Of course, I'm a little older, so it probably was a little more scary for me retiring and letting go of a position that seemed like it was paying you, you got a paycheck every week and then jumping off into none. It was But I like the fact that you talked about it as purpose. Because when we talk about purpose, people usually don't know what to do with that word.
Mm-hmm.
They just think it happens all of a sudden. And I've read Tara's chapter, and boy, wait till you read it, because she just gave a snippet of it just now, but another part was grasping the method, and you actually developed something called GRASP method: gratitude, responsibility, action, sight, and purpose, which seems to have impacted leaders worldwide, because I'm watching you and following you all over the place, jumping on your back, so to speak. And so how can Kingdom Woman, or any woman in leadership, apply these principles in their daily walk and lead with greater authenticity and confidence?
Well, I appreciate that. And, this is something that so many of us are on this journey, right? Again, so many of us are on this journey of, how can I walk in my purpose? What is my purpose? Do I have a purpose? And can I do it with confidence? I think confidence is the big thing that it often gets overlooked. First off, if you have a pulse, you have a purpose. So that's number one. I just want to say that out there. I do believe that we are made in God's image. And if you're made in the image of the one true God, you have a purpose. You are here for a specific reason. Every single one of us is like a piece of a larger puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
And the puzzle's not complete unless we're in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I liken purpose to the cells in our body. Each cell is an individual, but it contributes to the larger collective. Now, if, let's say, a skin cell, for example, decided that it wanted to be a heart cell, well, it's not equipped for the task. And there's nothing wrong with the cell. It's perfectly designed for its purpose. But if it tries to go outside and do things that it doesn't align with and that it's not made for, it's going to feel like a failure. Doesn't mean that it's a failure. It doesn't mean that it's lacking in anything. It just means that it's not equipped for the role. And how many of us relate to that analogy? But when in this larger body, all cells are functioning within their purpose and aligned with the function for which they were designed, well, there's no competition. Competition is irrelevant. There's only collaboration and community. And I think as women, even from a young age, we have felt a need to compete with other women.
Yeah.
And that's actually taking us out of our divinity, our role that God has given us in his plan. So I think this is really important as well, that if we feel the need for strife, if we feel the need for competition, if we feel the need for something like that, we're actually probably not aligned with purpose. And there's a reason why I have purpose not at the beginning of my method, but at the end. And I often get asked this question, why is purpose out that, why is it the last step? Because it's a journey. It's a journey. And if we're suffering from things like depression or anxiety or feeling of competition or not enoughness, a lack of confidence, purpose is going to seem like there's a big fog in front of it. We might feel like other people are confident, other people are purposeful, but I just can't quite see it now for myself. And this is totally normal, right? To feel this way. So it comes through a process of unveiling, because we do have to take the blinders off sometimes. We do have to clean the windshield to see through the fog. We do have to put the fog lights on, right?
Yes.
And then eventually the road to purpose, because I do feel like it's a road, becomes clear, becomes less obstructions on it. And even if we get diverted off of the road, go off road a little bit, because we all do, because we're humans, we can always get back on the road to purpose to take us to where we're ultimately supposed to be and how we were designed.
Wow. Destiny, right? And a lot of us veer off because, and I think it has a lot to do with the social media impact and
Yeah.
how people are viewing other people. And, you know, we're congratulating people for things that is just work. You know, it's just work. This is my work that I'm doing. That's your work that you're doing. And like you said, if we could just collaborate instead of compete, it would be an amazing, amazing, amazing journey. And so thank you for sharing that with me, with our audience. You know, faith, confidence, and calling is another part of your journey, so to speak. Many women listening to this podcast struggle because you've talked about anxiety, you've talked about depression. I've worked with women in those situations because, you know, at the end of the day, I'm still a licensed therapist, and I get to see all of this, and a lot of it leads to, like you said, physical manifestations in the body. So many women listening to this podcast struggle with self-doubt or feeling unqualified for the vision God placed in their heart. How did faith shape your own confidence? And what would you say to the woman who feels called but not yet ready to step out or step forward into that thing?
Oh, I love that. And, you know, there's so many great examples in the Bible. You know, if we look at the example of King David, I just love his example so much. You know, his brothers saw a shepherd, God saw a king. And we have to remember that it's not our current station in life that God looks at. God doesn't check your bank account when he places a calling in your heart. He doesn't check your degrees on the wall to make sure that you're qualified by the world standards. He doesn't check any of these things that the world cares about, right? So, you know, King David's example is so important because by every single account, he was not the right choice,
No.
right? He was not qualified. He was the youngest of how many? Seven brothers, right?
Yep.
He was a shepherd boy in the fields. So when the prophet Samuel came to the house of Jesse, right, to see all and meet all of the brothers, he wasn't even presented. He was an afterthought.
Yeah.
And as soon as Jesse knew, as soon as he met the other brothers, he knew. And he met David, and God placed a message, and the message was, the world, right, looks at the outward appearance, the Lord looks at the heart. And it's the heart posture. Guys, the most beautiful thing about what I'm saying is that this is, while it sounds hard and it sounds like you have to work really hard for this and strive and figure all these things out, purpose is a seed that's already planted within you. And it was planted in us before we were formed in the womb. So if we look to Jeremiah, it says that the Lord knew us before we were formed in the womb, and Psalms recites that same thing, that the Lord knew us before we were formed substance. So if we think about it this way, this is the longest standing relationship any one of us have ever had. God is our designer, right? He's our designer. And we can't look outside of our designer to find the purpose of our design. God should be the one that we call to first, right? If we're looking for this purpose. And this is a really good analogy as well that I'll put out there. If we think of a glove and we see a glove, let's say it's laying on a table, we see that the glove is made in the image of a hand. But without a hand inside of it, it's kind of lifeless, right? Now, the glove still has a purpose, but it can't fulfill and align with its purpose without the hand in it. So just like we're made in the divine image of God, we can't fulfill our purpose without God within us. We're made in his image, just like the glove is made in the image of a hand. So in order to find and align our purpose, we first need to seek the kingdom of God and seek God first. And not rely on our own understanding like I did. Like so many of us do all the time, right? And it's something you pray about and you ask God to reveal this to you slowly. And then how do you build confidence? It's through obedience. So if you're given an opportunity for courage, because that's what God will do, then you take the opportunity for courage. If you feel compelled within you to talk to someone and you know it's coming from spirit, then talk to that person. And it's these micro moments of courage. It's these micro moments of stepping out in uncertainty, right? That's what builds our faith. That's what builds our confidence. And ultimately, that's what reveals our purpose.
Yeah, you say it so beautifully and almost simple. And it is. It is, especially because I think the simplicity wears out because we don't really want to sit with God, ask him, who he made us to be, because we might find out that we're doing all of this stuff and that's not what he called us to do. And so where do you go after that? But as one who has made many detours, just like you, I say this: my ultimate detour was just bumping into God and letting him, I'm going to say redefine for me, because he already had the definition, but he had to reconfirm and redefine it for me. And he's still doing that every single day. It's not just a one-time, sit down conversation. It's a relationship. And in any relationship, you get to talk, but you got to stop so the other person can talk back. And that's where we get trapped, because we like praying and talking to God, but we don't let him talk back. We don't give him opportunity of silence. So thank you for bringing that. And David, oh my gosh. And there are so many others that we could talk about. My favorite is Naomi and Ruth, right?
Yeah.
So we could just keep going and going on that one. But we want to get to legacy and leadership. You often talk about creating impact that leaves a legacy. And I too, we all want to leave a legacy. What does legacy leadership mean to you, Tara? And how can women position themselves to lead, not just for today, but for generations to come?
Yes. It's so powerful. You brought up Ruth. She had a choice. When her husband died.
Naomi.
Yeah. Or pardon me.
Yeah.
Yeah. When her husband died, she could have gone back to was it Moab? That was her.
Oh, you're talking Ruth. Yeah, I thought you were talking about Naomi. Yeah. Her husband died. She could have went back.
Yeah, she could have went back. She could have gone to Moab, which was her hometown, and she was comfortable there. She knew people. She would have likely met someone else. would have likely been able to fit right in, get back into it. She also wouldn't have built a legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And we wouldn't have remembered Ruth. And the most important part of that, she wouldn't have gone into and become David's great grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
which led to the line of the Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting because when we think of legacy, sometimes we don't know, we never know what that could lead to, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the power of answering a calling and stepping out in courage. And, when she said to her mother-in-law, "Where you go, I shall go, and your God shall be my God," she was stepping out in complete uncertainty. And isn't that what faith is anyway?
Yes.
Faith is certainty beyond logic. There's no logic in it if you think about it. And oftentimes we try to overanalyze everything, especially like you and me, we're high achievers, we're high performers. We try to overanalyze and we want to know every detail. We can't know every detail, and we can never possibly know the outcome of us saying yes to something, going through with something with courage, or pursuing our calling. But we have these examples, right? And of course, we know that what happened with her story is she did end up marrying somebody. She had a great life, but it led to the Davidic line. It led to the King David being in her lineage, which she had no idea would happen. And of course, generations down, it led to the Messiah. This is what happens when we step out in faith and build a legacy. We may never know what that looks like a generation or more down the road. But it's so important to focus on not just our actions of, today in this lifetime, but what are we building for future generations of people to follow us? And we can't do that if we're not aligned with purpose, if we're operating outside of our design, if we're in competition with others, and if we're not a faithful, bold witness. You may be written in a book, but is it going to be the book that carries generations to come? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's when we say follow your calling, it doesn't mean it's going to be an easy road.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it means it'll be a purposeful one, and it'll be one that builds bricks for purpose in that road of purpose, again, for generations to come. And we never know who it could inspire.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And, I'm a little older, so I have a bunch of grandchildren already. And a lot of times, I sit right here in this room and wonder what will happen after I'm no longer here. How will my life? This is the question you need to ask. All of us need to ask. How will my life impact that generation? And every time I'm talking about this, I always refer to the baton being passed.
Yeah.
And how you could be winning in this race, but if you drop it, you forfeit a lot. But I think a lot of times as women, like you said earlier, the competition gets so rough out there that we forget that God has a definite plan. We don't even remember what our gifts are.
Mm.
We don't even align ourselves with our gifts so that we could get to purpose. We're just like riding it out, on our own, and that won't make it happen. So thank you for sharing with us today, not just from your mouth and your mind, but from your heart and your gut, because that's what this program is about. It's a gut issue. It's a kingdom woman. We're talking to a lot of women. Some may not be kingdom women, but I invite you to be a kingdom woman today, because can't travel this thing on your own. You'll make it. Sometimes it looks like you're making it, but I say to myself, if I do all of this and it wasn't God's plan, then it was for nothing at all. And so we don't want anybody to be left behind, and we don't want it to be for nothing. So I could say today, wow. I'm saying wow about this empowering conversation with Tara. Her story reminds us that when we lead with gratitude and purpose, confidence becomes the foundation of what we're doing. And if I want you all to follow her like I follow her. And so I want her to share a little bit about who she actually is and how you can follow her and what she does. Just give us a little snippet about that.
Absolutely. So I'm an entrepreneur. I wear many hats, right? Like we all do. I'm the CEO of a branding and marketing agency. We help thought leaders, people like speakers, authors, entrepreneurs, coaches, those types. We help them take that purpose, take that calling and amplify it, make it signature to them so that there is no competition, that they're only in the lane and brand of one. That's what we specialize in. And that's how I help people on that side. And then beyond that, I'm also a keynote speaker. I'm an author as well. My passion is working with people to help them uncover their truest potential, the purpose, the calling that God has placed for them in their life so that they can be fulfilled, not anxious, be purposeful, right? Instead of feeling purposeless.
Yeah.
I think this world needs that now more than ever. And these are some of the ways I help people and organizations and associations thrive instead of just survive.
Well, we need to know where we could find you.
Yes. So I'm on LinkedIn, of course. Everybody can connect with me on LinkedIn, Tara LaFon Gooch. I'm pretty much on every social media platform. And you can also find more information about me as an individual at taralafongooch.com or my business website, bestbranding.solutions. And our tagline is, we help the best become best known.
Wow. Well, thank you today, Tara, for joining us. This was an amazing journey. Journeying towards purpose and just loving who we are. That's the biggest deal of all, loving who we are. So we thank you for sharing how we can connect with you and how the audience can connect with you, because that will not just impact. So today will not just impact for today, but it could probably change somebody's life that is watching and listening. And you can also connect with me, Dr. Sharon Arrindell.com or inspiredwholenesscounseling.com if you need some therapy or just some help. I work mostly with women these days, Kingdom Women specifically. You can follow me on Facebook at Sharon Arrindell or on LinkedIn and Instagram at Dr. Sharon Arrindell. Join me next time because we keep soaring every single time, higher and higher. So join me next time on S.O.A.R Leadership for Kingdom Woman, where we help Kingdom Women rise higher in business, in church, in life. And so until next time, be blessed and keep soaring. Thank you again for joining us and have a great day. Bye, Tara.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today on S.O.A.R, Leadership for Kingdom Women. Remember, you are called to rise higher in business, in church, and in life. Stay strong, stay aligned, and keep soaring with boldness, wisdom, and faith. Until next time, keep rising.